Oh, and by the way, my name is Paige. I'm a student ambassador for CCS. I'm a current student at CCS. I'm going to be a senior. I'm in illustration. So if you have any specific questions about the illustration department, I'm probably a good person to answer those for you as well. We also have a few student ambassadors who are going to be joining us today. So we're going to have a couple of them join us on here, and they can also answer questions for you guys in the chat as well. So yeah. All right, cool. All right. So I have a list of questions as well that we've been gathering throughout the week and from other question sessions. So I might start with some of those. But again, if you have any questions, now's the time to ask. So just put those in the chat. All right, cool. So, and I think Ollie's on here now. So if you like Ollie, you can request to join, and you can come on here too, and we can both answer questions. All right. Cool. So I'm looking at the questions. What's the most normal schedule for a day? I mean, it varies so much between student to student depending on your major and depending on what you're doing. Um, I guess like it would depend on your major. Normally I would have either one or two classes a day, um, but yeah, it really is case by case basis. Studio classes are usually 6 hours, and that can be split up into two, um, or that can be, you know, one full session of 6 hours. All right, letting Ollie join. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good. All right, cool. Just gonna look at some more questions, and then I'll just pose them, and then we can both try to answer them.
Mm-hmm.
If that works. All right, cool. And then I feel like you might be able to answer this better than I can, because you work more digitally than I do. When it comes up to buying a laptop, should I stick close to CCS's recommendations?
Um, I feel like it depends on the major because some majors do
Mm-hmm.
have like they want you to have like this very specific laptop.
Yeah.
But for example, like if you're an EA and you want to do like 3D work, I'd say skip the laptop and just get like a nice PC, like a
Mm-hmm.
desktop computer.
Yeah.
So it really depends on the type of artwork you're doing. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you're just like drawing, you're an illustrator, then get like a cheap laptop that can run Photoshop like at its
Yeah.
or even you can probably nowadays get away with just getting an iPad. Like it really
Yeah.
depends on what you're doing.
Yeah, I would agree. I will say, I was just talking to my roommate, who's in communication design about this earlier, and he said for communication design, the department is a little more like you need to get a Mac, like you need to get a Mac. But I've never really had that experience in illustration. Like they don't, as long as you can run the programs, they don't really care.
Yeah, for us in
But yeah.
EA, it's like unless you're doing video editing work, a lot of people don't use Macs at all.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, that
like a
makes
lot of the
sense.
programs, especially if you're in game, you'll never use a Mac because none of our programs work on Mac.
Oh,
Oh, there you go.
oh.
I got a low power warning and it shut my camera off.
Oh, okay.
It's all good though.
You're back. Yeah.
Back.
All right, cool. Yeah, so major by major basis, I guess is the answer for that. Um, Brandy asked what our favorite CCS memory or experience was, which I don't know. I'm trying to think. Like, I don't know. Do you have like a specific favorite CCS memory or experience?
Yeah, mine is
Um,
definitely when myself and a handful of other game and animation students went to GDC last March,
mhm.
not last March, but March of 2019.
Yeah.
Which was the Game Developers Conference in San Francisco. It was
Oh,
like
okay.
hands down not only like my best CCS experience, but one of my best life
Mhm.
experiences.
Mhm.
It was thrilling to be around like the heart of the industry and meet people and get closer with
Mhm.
my classmates. It was a good time.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, I would say my favorite experience wasn't necessarily like a one day thing, but like the experience of taking Ray Domzalski's editorial class last year, first semester, was like hands down probably my favorite thing that I've done at CCS. It was fantastic. It was like the most like creatively liberating experience I've had at CCS, where it was just like, oh, like now's the time to like really like buckle down and do what you want, as opposed to, all the previous like technical stuff that leads up to that. So it was nice to have that. All right, cool. Oh, Brandy just joined. Hi, Brandy. All right, cool. So, we already went over the what a normal day is like, because that varies quite a bit. Okay, what's something you wish you knew as a freshman going in? Um, I always say this, but I always wish I knew like, you know, how many like, you know, untapped resources there are at CCS that you aren't quite aware of when you first go in, especially in terms of like, your peers are a great resource, are probably the best resource you have when going to a school like this, because, like you all really learn from each other. So like forming those like, social relationships can help your, you know, technical pursuits in a big way. Yeah.
I feel like something I wish I don't think it's ever something I would have been aware of
Hmm.
before I came to CCS, but I think your freshman year you have the most access to people outside of your majors
Yeah, I would agree.
because you're in foundations classes together.
Hmm.
And I wish I would have kept in closer contact with a lot of those people because there's a lot of valuable resources that you can find in people that are doing things that are completely different from you. Um,
Hmm.
Even just to like, most of us are in more commercially facing majors. And I think
Hmm.
it's fun to get critique and feedback from people that have no idea what the technical inside aspect of what you're doing is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's because you're all thinking of things in a radically different way. Like
Yeah.
an EA student is going to think very, very differently from like I don't know, someone who's only done like glass blowing,
Hmm.
putting up to that. But yeah, that that is true. All right, cool. What are some underrated resources you get access to as a student? So I guess we kind of like went over that in the sense of like peer resources and like, your freshman year, getting access to like all these different opinions and stuff. But personally, I really like having access to all these informational like databases for my own research, because I like to do a lot of like research leading up to every project I do. In terms of like, I was doing a lot of stuff with like uh, this the old fairy tale, the Six Swans, and I was doing a lot of research into that, like old Germanic fairy tales and stuff like that. And I actually used our the databases through the CCS library to research that, which was very helpful for you know thumbnailing and the ideation process.
Yeah,
But yeah.
um, I think my favorite resource that is definitely not enough people use and know about is
Hmm.
there'll be access to the Gnomon Workshop.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I like I could preach about it all day to people just because it's like it's such a cool resource. Um,
Hmm.
it's for the people that don't know what it is. It's an online uh, like tutorial and class resource
Hmm.
where you can find courses that are taught by industry professionals targeting like illustration and entertainment arts type people, um,
Hmm.
where they'll go through like how to use programs to just the way they think about like their design process.
Nice.
Pretty
Yeah.
neat.
I didn't even know about that until this year. So like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good thing to let people know about. Okay. What are the dorms like? Well, I stayed in the Taubman Center dorms for the 2 years I did live in the dorms. I now live in a house with some CCS students in Detroit. But in my personal experience, the Taubman Center dorms were really good in terms of like building your social circle because it's the rooms are a little bit smaller than they are at the ACB. It's a little more traditional dorm style than apartment style. So you're going to be spending, generally speaking, a lot of time in workrooms, which is a really great opportunity to meet a lot of people, get a lot of different feedback. And everyone I live with now in this house, I met while living at the Taubman Center dorms. But yeah, it's pretty active. They do a lot of, uh, weekly activities and stuff. I had a group of people when I lived there that like we all watched American Horror Story together, the new episode every week, which was fun. But yeah, I've never lived in the ACB though, but you have, so I guess
Yeah.
you could speak to that.
Um, so I honestly don't think the ACB is too different when it comes to kind of the social aspect.
Mhm.
Just because there's so many people in each room.
Mhm.
Um, and because in the ACB you have bedrooms, you have a kitchen, you have a bathroom to multiple bathrooms depending on how many people are in your dorm, and it definitely has more of that like independent like apartment living feeling, which I personally
Mhm.
enjoy. Um, but it is true you don't necessarily have the same amount of common spaces that you would in the TC.
Mhm.
Um, but still, like having lived there since freshman year, like I feel like I still met a ton of my friends just through living together. So
Yeah, definitely. I will also say it's probably good to know the ACB has kitchens and the Taubman Center does not.
yeah,
So if you don't want to be on a meal plan, ACB is the way to go. Yeah, I will say I did miss having a kitchen when I was at the Taubman. I had a rice cooker though, which was, you
that's
know,
close enough. That's half a kitchen.
yeah, yeah. You can steam zucchini in a rice cooker and it's great. Okay, let's see. How's the school handling the shift to online classes? How do art classes work online? So it depends on the class, like so many things, but I just read through the COVID returning plan. So this is fresh in my mind, but so I know for illustration, what they will probably be doing for a lot of the classes is a studio is 6 hours, and to maintain social distancing, they're splitting the classes in half, and half of the people will be there for 3 hours during the week, and the other half will be there for the other 3 hours during the week, and then the rest of the class is done online. So it's like this split up hybrid online in class situation. But I don't know if they're doing that for every major. Um, but that's how it's working in illustration. Do you know it? Do you know what the procedure is going to be like for EA or?
Yeah, I know EA is going to be pretty similar as
Okay.
far as the split classes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I don't. I'm assuming it might be the same for some of the more physical based majors, but I don't want to speak for them either.
Yeah. Yeah. So when like classes are fully online this past semester, what they did for us generally was like we're all on Blackboard, and through Blackboard you can post to threads and post your work. And we had a required amount for a few of my classes that we were supposed to comment on other people's work to do critique. Um, so like we have a thread that's like, hey, this is the thread for this project. Post your updates and your progress here. So the instructor and your peers can all comment and give you feedback. But we also did a lot of Zoom uh, feedback sessions as well. Yeah. Let's see. How much reading and writing is required in non-art classes? Um, well, it depends on the class and how much credit you're coming in with regards to your liberal arts. I would say it's really not bad at all. They try to keep it pretty, you know, so you can focus on your studios. At least that's been my experience.
Yeah, same. I've had some liberal arts classes where we don't even have take-home homework besides like a
Yeah.
testing at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it drastically varies. Like I had one where it felt like kind of what I would expect a regular college English class to feel like, where we had like
Mm-hmm.
weekly, bi-weekly essays, but it still was like manageable.
Yeah, yeah. It was always very manageable, I would say. I would say the most work I ever did was for my my psychology perception class, which is my not my natural science credit that I had to take. But even that wasn't that bad. It was just a fair amount of reading. Um, but even then, I just found I don't remember what it's called, but it's like an extension you can put on your browser that makes you can make any textbook like an audiobook.
Oh,
Um, and it's yeah, I gotta find it again, but I'm definitely gonna be using that this year because save time for reading. All right. What is campus food like? So we have two dining locations at CCS. One at the on the at the Ford location, and one over at the Taubman. The one at the Taubman is more like a traditional cafeteria style dorm type eating situation, and the other is more like it's not open as much. It's like soups and sandwiches and pizza. I think they do burgers. But yeah, I don't eat there very much. But I don't live on campus. But when I did, I mostly ate at the Taubman Center one. And they have like a deli station, a grill station. There's usually pizza and then like a meal of the day. Yeah, that's the food. I don't know if I'm missing anything there. Oh, there's also the 24-hour markets, which are 24-hour vending areas for when the cafeteria areas are closed. Okay. What do you like to do for fun when you're not in class around Detroit? I mean, of course, there's not as much you can go out and do right now because plague. Um, but I go for a lot of walks around the city, around my neighborhood. I'm in Woodbridge, which is a historical neighborhood in Detroit, and it's really pretty here. Um, it's a nice place to walk. You know, when there isn't plague, a lot of good museums. um, let's see, a lot of good coffee shops. Bottom line, when it opens back up, is my favorite. Um, they're open pretty late. It's a nice place to do homework, and they have really good drinks. Yeah, I don't know. What are some things you like to do around the city?
My favorite thing that you can still do right now is
Mm,
explore a lot of the parks around Detroit.
mm-hmm.
You have everything from the Kindercut to Rouge Park, which is technically in Dearborn. It's kind of right in between Dearborn and Detroit.
Hmm.
It's like a I don't know the exact acreage of it, but it's like double digits, like very large.
Ooh, I've
Um,
actually never been there. I
it's
should check it
so
out.
there's the Rouge River runs through it, so it's actually
Mm-hmm.
like, has proper hiking trails and everything.
Oh, nice.
Um, there's even they have a mountain bike trail, which
Mm-hmm.
I've walked it. I've never
Mm-hmm.
biked it. I don't have a mountain bike. That's not a skill set that I have, but
Are you on?
All right.
So
Awesome.
how long was the timer?
So, I personally really like to drive out to Kensington Metro Park, which is a bit of a drive. It's like 30 minutes from here, but I go there probably every other weekend. And it's a really big park with not only like, hiking trails, but they have like not just mountain bike trails, but like pavement trails as well, and a couple beaches and there's a farm. I don't think that's open now, but there's like a farm where, especially in the spring, it's really nice because they always have baby goats. Um, yeah, it's great. Let's see. Uh, do you have clubs slash organizations? Yes, we have many. We have many clubs. So there's a good amount. Sorry, a bee just landed on me. um, So there's a few sports clubs like soccer, basketball. I think there's a group that plays volleyball sometimes. I don't know if that's still a thing. There's a cycling club. Um, and let's see, pretty well known one, but Stage Fighting Club. There's Queers and Allies, which is like a, what, LGBT focused club. There's also LGBT and Cookies, which is another one. There's Crew, which is the Christian club. Um, let's see, I think there's a non-major photography club. There's a few movie clubs like Bad Movie Club, Bad Horror Movie Club. I think there's like a few like tabletop game clubs like Magic the Gathering, stuff like that. But yeah. Is there a swimming club? I don't think so. We don't have a pool. So that would be difficult. But gosh, I wish we had a pool. I really want to go swimming.
We used to have access to Wayne State's gym, which had a pool, but I don't know if that's still.
I have no idea actually. It's something to look into.
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
people used to talk about going over to Wayne State for that before, but I don't know. I am
Yeah.
certainly not of the athletic variety, so.
Me neither. Me neither. Not at all. Okay. Let's see. Oh, Brandy says I believe we still do. That's cool. I didn't know. I wasn't sure about that. All right. Is it better to commute or live on campus? I would say it depends on the person. Very much so. I would say I appreciated living on campus, especially my first year at CCS because I met a lot of people and I met my roommates. But like for me personally, I like having a garden. I like having a full kitchen. So I have a backyard now, which I really really wanted. So it was better for me to commute after a couple of years. But to an extent, I do miss like the social aspect of living in the dorms. So it depends on what you want out of the experience, I think.
Yeah, I think I have a unique perspective on that, having lived on campus, was a commuter, and then we moved back to campus.
Oh yeah, yeah.
In which I definitely prefer commuting personally, but I'm also thankful that I lived on campus at least my first year. Because I really do think it's a really good way to cement yourself into kind of the social bubble at CCS.
Yeah, definitely.
But I
would
also
agree.
just like Paige was saying, the freedom of like living off campus and being able to have a garden and do whatever you want with your living space, like that does a lot for me personally.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, very much so. Like we wanted to get cats, my roommates and I, so now we have 2 cats and probably couldn't do that myself. I couldn't do that in the dorms, so I prefer commuting, but I know a lot of people like living in the dorms. So, all right. Internships. Have you had one? Are they common? It depends on the major. Not really as common for illustration students, just because so many of us are like freelancer people, and it's just like not the type of thing you get an internship for. But pretty common in like the communication design department, I know, and transportation and product. I don't know about EA, what the scene is like there. But
it's not the most common for people to get internships during school. It's usually something we wait for till after we graduate.
Oh,
just because Michigan, you have local internship opportunities, but they're not numerous.
yes, yeah.
So
Well, I
you
mean,
find a
yeah.
lot of students will end up, because a lot of the time, if you want to intern for a big company, like a lot of people will apply, but then you have to move out to California for a summer. So
Yeah,
it's hit or miss for people. It's if you are able to afford an internship.
yeah, and that's we could talk about the issues with unpaid internships, but like
Yeah.
being able to afford them. But all right. So, what do you like most about CCS? What would you change if you could? I would say I like the community the most. That's probably my favorite bit. I've met probably some of the best people I've ever met while going to school here. Um, what would you change? Sometimes, like uh, doing like, logistical stuff can be a little bit of a headache. Just going through, bouncing from department to department, especially if like you have a weird credit situation like I do. Because I came in with some credit and then it was a bit of a thing to figure out what I actually needed to take and what I didn't. Um, so that's probably the main thing I would change. Is streamline that process a little bit more. But yeah, that's my answer.
I had one in it. Like you said yours, and mine just went.
Ah, yes.
Hold on. It'll come back.
Mm.
Oh, God. Oh, no, okay. Sometimes I wish some of our liberal arts were a little bit more specific. Sometimes they feel a little generic.
Yeah,
Especially the mandatory few. Sometimes it feels like they're just kind of shoving things in to make a class, which is a good thing for the people that just want the credit and want to focus on their studio classes. Like it's great for that. But sometimes
yeah,
it's like, oh, you're kind of interested in the topic, but it feels lacking because it's, you know,
yeah. Like you'd want to go deeper into like a
yeah.
more, yeah. I would agree. I would agree with that. Um, yeah, especially after taking concepts and methods of visual culture with Jessica. Like I was like, oh, like this is like what a liberal arts class can be, like because she went really in depth. Because she's a great teacher. I highly recommend her if you're taking liberal arts at CCS. Um, but yeah, I would agree. All right, cool. Well, we've gone through most of the questions I have on the list. If anyone has any other questions, please send them in the chat. Um, because yeah. All right, cool. It's got a lot of people joining, but not a lot of people asking questions. Would you guys recommend getting a laptop according to CCS's recommendations or somewhere close to that? Okay, we kind of went over this a little bit earlier, but I think what we ended up kind of deciding on was that it really depends on your major. So I know in communication design, they really prefer you to have a Mac. In illustration, as long as you can run Photoshop and Illustrator, it's they don't super care if you have a Mac or not. Um, but in entertainment arts, I think you said PC is more the way to go.
Yeah,
But
it really depends
yeah,
on the type of art you're making with EA.
hmm yeah, yeah. So it's kind of case by case basis. Your department will let you know, but like, um, I would say it truly depends on your major, and what kind of stuff you're trying to accomplish. But yeah. All right. Any other questions? Let's see. Give people a couple minutes to decide if they have any other questions. Okay. So muggy outside. I'm only outside because I have 6 roommates. And it gets a little bit loud, but it's so muggy. All right, cool. All right, we got a couple more questions. Okay. Is there a curfew if you stay on campus? There's quiet hours. I think that's after, wow, gosh, I really don't remember. It's, I think maybe after 10 or 11. They ask you to be a little bit more quiet, but no, I don't, they don't get, you don't get in trouble if you don't come back after a certain time, at least in my experience.
They don't care. I come
Yeah,
back at
yeah.
like 4 in the morning all the time. It's
Yeah, people have such weird hours at the school. Like people are in the 24-hour lab at like 4 in the morning. So it's like, yeah, it doesn't really make sense for there to be a curfew. All right. And then this question, for international students, what can one expect in the first week at the Taubman Center? I know there's a separate orientation session for international students, where they give like the more specific info on that stuff. But other than that, your first week should generally just be like any other person's first week. They do welcome week type stuff. There's a couple movie nights. They do activities for freshman first weeks. But yeah, it's not that different. Yeah. All right. Any other thing? I think that covers just about everything. Well, thank you to everyone who came and asked questions. Thank you, Ollie, for helping me out with this. I appreciate it.
no problem.
All right. So we're gonna sign off actually, because Brandy said we could. So we're good. All right.
Great.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.